It is September 26th and I have some blooms finally back into the refrigerator here. It's been a while since I had anything. I've got some sunflowers and beauty berries. Got quite a bit of sunflowers because when they start to bloom, they all bloom together, but aren't they gorgeous? And a few other little dahlias, some big, beautiful dahlias here, and a few things out in the field that I will show you. Let's see what's going on out in the field. Okay, so here we are. I've gotten a lot, like I said, of these blooming. I've already picked most of them and the rest of them really need to go. They're really short, but it's okay because I don't need really long stems for what I'm using these for right now, which is for my pumpkin arrangements. I've got some really nice taupe green marigolds coming in, and then we'll have another flush. These are a different kind of sunflower. I'm gonna see how those grow. They're already a little bit bigger, which looks better. And then I've got another round here, which I think might be the last of them. There's a few more over here, which are honestly already budding up, which is not great. We had some real cold weather for this time of year last week and the week before. Oh, I even see some cosmos starting to bud, and we'll see how those go. This is an experiment for me because I haven't really grown flowers per se in the fall very much. I did grow some sunflowers last year. I remember my last ones were blooming. As I looked back at the end of November, as long as it stays warm, we will get it. There's a few zinnias and still the snapdragons over here. But what I am doing this week is I have started to put the chicken wire. In fact, I've got to go back and cut these zip ties, but these holes, while they seem like they are really small, I think I measured they're like 2 by 3, rabbits go right through, and we actually had a rabbit stuck and died in one of these holes in the spring, which like a full-grown rabbit. I don't know how it got through there. So I'm adding the chicken wire so that nothing will get through, because even the baby rabbits will get through it, and I'm just tired of them munching on all my stuff. When there's plenty of things over here in the yard they can munch. So I am working on trying to get the chicken wire. I've gotten about halfway down here, so I'm going to continue around the whole place. It got really hot the last 2 or 3 days, and it's supposed to be raining this weekend a lot. But I'm gonna try to keep going with what I need to do. This bed, I've got to pull up the plastic and move these yarrow. They've done really well here, but this is the second year. They need to be split, and then all of those daisies over there need to be moved. So these are all perennials, and so I wanna move them out of this bed because I wanna use this for my annuals, and then put the perennials somewhere else where they can be in the landscape, and I don't necessarily have to keep them in rows like I do here for the regular annuals. So I've decided I'm going to pull the black plastic up and just plant, see how it goes. I've had the plastic here, this is my 3rd year, so most of the grass and weeds are down. As you can see, I say that and then look at the weeds. These are all just like surface weeds, though. I can just take my little hoe and just get rid of these. And then these beds over here I really didn't even use this year because I really wasn't growing a whole lot. Just have to pull the plastic up, do a little weeding, and then add some compost and some good garden soil because I want to get ready to seed. I'm going to be direct seeding a lot of some of the seeds, and then I'm going to be just planting out the little babies probably in about 4 to 6 weeks, depending on how fast they grow. This I wanted to bring to your attention. I could not get these to grow last year, and of course this one just volunteered evidently, or made it through. I think I had 2 that lasted. These are called the jewels of a par. They didn't do anything, and this year, this maybe is the 2nd year plant, and it shoots up these cute little pink flowers, and then they turn into these cute purple berries. And I'll show you the wreath that I made. I had one, so I'm very excited to get a couple more of these to stick it in my wreath. I kind of gave up and said, oh, these weren't worth growing, but now I do see that they really do give a little interest. Sometimes things just don't work in the area, right? You see people talking about how great these things are and how you can use them, but if they don't grow here or they don't grow in your space, then it doesn't really matter. So let me show you what I've got going on. Also, this is going to become my little flower cart. I'm hoping maybe we can work on that. The bottom of it's cracked, but my hubby is like a whiz when it comes to woodworking and making things. And so this, we may sketch out the plans and start working on that. One thing I did want to show you that does very well here is the sweet autumn clematis. So I got this years ago, and I will just say that it is very invasive. It will spread around, and I put a few on each side of my, this is like white railings that you can't even see because they are just covered. And every year my husband rolls his eyes at me waiting for this to finish blooming so that we can cut it down. It starts to really grow up about the middle of the summer, and this started blooming probably the end of August, and it is gorgeous. It smells like licorice. It's called Sweet Autumn Clematis. I just have volunteers all over the yard because I'll show you what it looks like after it gets done blooming. And there are like a bajillion seeds. Here, this thing started to bloom first, which is on a little fence that I have right out here. And it just takes over, but then it does die back. But I guess these are all the little seeds. Let me see if you can, there we go. You can focus in. So there's like 1,000 seeds on here, probably more than that. I just keep getting more and more little vines. They're in the grass. They're all over the place. I dug some up and gave them to my mom because I just don't know what else to do with them. Okay, this is my garden bench out in the garage. Even though I have that great potting shed, for some reason, I just don't use it. I'm gonna be using that for flower arranging and doing different things. So I just have this really nice bench that my hubby helped build a little bit bigger out for me last year. So what I've got here are my seeds that came in the mail, and some of them are still in the freezer, but what I want to get ready to do is plant the ones that don't have to go in the freezer. There's my zip ties. So what I have and what I will do actually is I have this really big, let me move this out of the way. I don't need these right now. This is a big tub that you mix concrete in. I got this at Lowe's or something. It's like a concrete mixing tub, and it works so good. I've got two big ones. One fits back in my shed. I think it's a little bit smaller. It's somewhere around here. And then I've got this big one, but it's great for mixing compost. So I have the big mixer. I'll put in what I need. I mix up for whatever I'm going to do. For this round, I'm going to be doing the, what do you call these little things? I can't think of it at the moment, but it makes these little cakes. And you get to plant the little seeds. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 by 4. So these are 20 little seed cakes. And I will make a special type of soil here that's real kind of gooky and mucky. And I will take this and scoop it up and then put it into one of these little containers over here that I've got saved. And then I will put the seeds in them. It makes just a tiny little space, and I don't have to use all the plastic from all of these, even though I do use these in the summertime, and I just keep reusing them because I don't like the plastic. And it just takes up so much space. I could plant 10 of the same amount as one of these large seed trays because they're really small, and I don't need them to grow to a big plant. I just need them to germinate enough to get a few leaves on them, and then they are going to be planted out in the garden. So I don't need them to grow big. So like when I do my sunflowers, something that grows really fast in the summertime, I need a bigger container. So I usually use these for the summer annuals that grow fast and grow bigger. And these ones that I'm doing for cool flowers, I don't have to do that. So I've got some stock. I've got more stock and more stock. I've got some calendula, ivory princess. I'm super excited. I've got calendula out in the garden that I just grew already, which was the flashback mix. So I've also got some of those left over. And then I've got the ivory princess, the centura, which is bachelor buttons, chrysanthemum, robin rose, some dahlia. I planted the sunny reggae. Those are those cute little yellow and kind of a peachy colored ones. I've got some sweet white dianthus. I've got something new, amobium, which is very similar to the feverfew that I've tried like heck to grow for 2 years, and it just dies. It's just too hot here. I could get nothing to bloom, hardly, and if I did, they were really small. I've got bunny tails. I don't know why this is not in focus here. Some bunny tails, grasses, and some strawflower peach. So these are some of the warmer ones that don't need to be cold. The rest of my flowers are they're in the freezer. They've been in there for almost 2 weeks, and it's time for me to take them out because I can't really wait any longer. I've got to get them going. So I am going to mix up some stuff here. Over here, I have some dried flowers and some seeds that I'm saving, that I've saved from last year and the year before. I have all my little seeds down here, and I try to save some of the seeds that I have in my garden when I can. These came from a friend. There's some beautiful zinnias, so I'm letting these dry, and I'm hoping I can use some of those. But the plan right now is to mix up and make my little seed cakes, and then I'll probably go in the morning and plant the seeds, but I've got to get these started. Then I will put them under my lights. Right now the lights are on and no one's home. I've got to get these things out of here. These seed trays can go and be all washed up, and then I'll use the trays down there and I will mark them what I'm planting and get some of this going. Some of these can be direct seeded right into the ground, which is again why I need to clear these beds out here, because the places I want to put the seeds are not ready for the seeds to go in. A lot of work here to do over the weekend, but I hope I can get most of it done, or at least get it started. The direct seed ones could wait a little bit longer, but I really want to get these ones that I have to put in the cell trays as soon as possible to get them started so that they'll do well. Last year I waited too late. I planted the middle of October and they did not have a good chance. They didn't get big enough to put out in the yard. Sorry, you're just staring at this, but maybe I can turn it around. I have no idea if you can see me or not. I'm just gonna, hopefully you can. I waited too long and they did not get established enough before the cold came. We had a really early season of cold and they just didn't do what I wanted them to do. The year before, I planted them the end of September. They had a chance to get going, and then they just wait during the winter time, and then they took off as soon as it got a little bit warm. These ones from last year, I might as well just waited and planted them in January. I didn't give me much of a head start like I had seen the year before. So it's all just trial and error until you figure out what works in your spot. So I'm going to go mix up some dirt and get these seed cakes ready for planting. Okay, so I have mixed up my seed mix. I'll just tell you what it is. I've got it here in my book. For the soil blocks, which is what this little thing is, it's called the soil blocker. I got this from Johnny's Seeds. For the soil blockers, it is 1 cup of peat moss, which I have some bags of peat moss down here, and then you do a 1/4 cup of compost, and 1 teaspoon of greensand and 1 teaspoon of phosphate rock. So I have done like a lot more than that. And I've got it all mixed up here in my big container. And then the next thing that you need to do is to add water to this. I just use this little cup out here. You add the water and make it really wet, because what you're doing is you want this to all stick together like making mud pies, basically, is what you do here. I have way too many things here I'm trying to do at the same time. I usually am not recording myself when I do this. But basically, I will mix it all together until it's like a slushy mud pie consistency. It needs to be almost dripping wet, which I can see I'm going to need a lot more. Because in order for it to stick inside of this little soil blocker, it's like a little sand toy, right? You really got to scoop it up, and then I'll show you how that works in a few minutes. But it's got to be really drippy, and it's a nasty job, but it goes really fast and it just makes for such a quicker work. So I am going to just pause this for a moment because I really can't do this with one hand. and I'll keep mixing. All right, so I have got it mixed up here, and hopefully you can see that it's really mucky and looks like wet sand or like mud pies. Really dripping. I don't like to do it super drippy, but it's pretty wet. If I squeezed it in my hand, it would drip. There's really nothing that goes wrong with this because the mixing is done before with the different components that I gave you earlier. That's what we need to get right. Then it's just a matter of getting it so that it will create the soil block so that we can put it into the tray. So let me show you a couple of these and how it works. I'm hoping I can do this one-handed. It's been a while since I've done this. Just get it all together. Kind of stick it in the, I usually do it with two hands because it's a lot easier. Here we go. I try to get a decent soil block and kind of get it all packed. It's been a while since I've done these, and once you get going into a rhythm, it really goes well. So you stick it all in here. I don't have to actually pack it, but because I'm doing it one-handed, I usually just go like this and rock it together so that I know it's all packed. But you can see as I'm looking at here, pushing it down, that it's kind of dripping down the side. I try to get it pretty even, but yeah, you can see the water's dripping off here. Then I put it inside of my tray and just push, and ta-da! It makes a little seed cake. That's what I call them. They're called soil blocks, but I call them a seed cake. And if you can see the little divots, like each one has a little hole right there where you see the little like depression, and that's where the seed goes, so that one for each little tiny place. So I will just make a whole bunch to fill up these trays, and I've got more trays down here over here by the lights. I'll fill up the trays with however many I got here. I'm sure I'm gonna have to mix up more. That's all I've got time to do today, and you don't want to really mix them until you're ready to plant the seeds. But I'll go ahead and fill, like this whole tray will probably be snapdragons or stock or something, and I'll do the whole tray with one variety. One thing I learned early is to not to mix the varieties too much. And if I do want to mix the varieties, like some I don't need tons, then I'll put the little seed cakes inside like this. This is just like one of those suet cake things, or I just have a bunch of different containers I use, because that way if one is germinated and needs to be moved or planted before the other ones, I can just take it out and it's not stuck. I've done it before where I just have a tray of mixed things. Some of them are getting so tall that I have to move them from under the lights, and the other things haven't even started growing up very tall, and it makes it really hard. So try to keep all the varieties together, and or I'll put them in the little trays. But anyway, I am going to go continue to make seed cakes and get these seeds sown so I can stick these under the lights and get them growing. I will see you next time.